This is David Higbee with the Bridge Broadcast, and we have a special podcast episode. This is a parents-only podcast. So these are going to be parents from our 2021 Bridge class who are jumping on to catch up and chat. So let's start. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Doing well.
How's the transition been from parents and now homeschool teachers?
Well, the one thing I've learned is that the kids are as bad as the teachers thought they were.
That it's actually true what the teachers are telling you?
Yeah.
You have evidence now?
Yeah, and I've been in the classroom, so now I can validate it.
That's funny.
It's been different.
I imagine it's probably a little bit easier to stay on top of their schoolwork just because they're expected to have some discipline with what they get with their assignments, or is that maybe not the case?
It's expected.
But it's certainly not like raising like a pre-K or a kindergartner and kind of having to really be there with them next to them, right?
I don't know.
Well, the one thing I've learned, David.
Assistant director of a preschool, the parents that I serve, they are definitely having a whole different experience than what we are having.
Okay.
They are actually ready for us to reopen.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Well, let me tell you something, David, I've experienced. When I was in classroom, I had to watch the kids all the time to make sure they were doing their work. And at home, I tend to lax, but I found out that you have to stay right on top of them at home if you would in the classroom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. You say, you got to do this at this time and all that. You turn their back, they got music on,
Right.
that type. So.
Do you all find that they're having a heavier workload under quarantine or shelter in place versus or a lighter workload?
I don't think it was heavier.
I would vote for heavier.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would go for heavier and with less one-on-one. I think that's the biggest thing in our case. I'm finding that he's a more one-on-one student. That online is not going to work. So yeah, that has been the biggest challenge.
For Colin, it was opposite because I think he's done better at home because he had less distractions. So he did better, completing his assignments on time and, staying focused because he doesn't have the friends and, other things, that he struggles with, in place. So he actually, to me, did better at home than school.
Are you now deciding whether or not to become a homeschool teacher then?
No, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But he was able to get stuff done earlier, whereas, when he went at school, he procrastinates and he waits till the last minute. So
right.
I saw the difference between the two because he was like, I don't have nothing else to do, but, get it done.
Lottie, what about your boy? What about Kevon?
I felt like he did much better at home, because he want to hurry up and get it done, then he want to get on the phone with his friends. So
okay,
yeah. So to me, it was better at home because he didn't have lacrosse. So
when you have nothing else to do, you might as well do homework or study.
That's true.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's do a quick little bio and an intro for each of you. Name and a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just kind of go around. So Kim, do you want to start us off?
I can. Kim Spivey, Jacoby's mother, who's called G by predominantly the team and coaches. We've been with Bridge. This will be our 9th year, starting in the 2nd grade from St. Philip's.
Tamira and Michael Johnson. Our son is Marcus. He started in the 3rd grade, so he's been with Bridge since the 8th grade, and he started at St. Philip's.
Joe Hearn, James Cameron is my grandson, and he started lacrosse in the 2nd grade at St. Philip's, and he's been in the program for a while. I won't tell you a lot about myself because I'm so famous, so I'll just pass that.
Well, I'll add one thing in there. Joe was also a Bridge board member.
Lottie Taylor, my son is Kevon Day. He's the goalie for varsity. And we've been with Bridge since third grade also, St. Philip's. Everyone on this call introduced us to lacrosse, their kids. Thank y'all again.
I'm Racine Reed, mother of Kylan Terrelong, varsity Bridge, and we also started third grade, St. Philip's.
So I want to start with this question of, what sports did you all play, and then what was the value of playing sports as kids?
For me, it was volleyball, and I just loved being, around sports. That was my thing. I went to school for broadcast journalism, but ended up in accounting. So sports has always been a major part of my life, even when my oldest brother, when they used to play football, I was a little girl, I used to go watch them play, but I just love sports, and it just taught me a lot of teamwork and value about life.
I personally did softball and volleyball as well. And the culture for us was sports. It played a big role as far as if you wasn't in it or wasn't doing it, it just was part of the norm. So we came from a sporting background on our side for sure.
Racine, did you play any sports in high school or?
I didn't. I have all brothers, so I was the only girl. So I grew up watching my brothers play sports. My oldest brother played football. I was on the cheer side, cheer drill team sideline side.
Are you implying that cheer is not a sport?
Well, back then cheer was a little different than it is today. Like my mom made our outfits and we just bought pom-poms and we were just cheering.
Okay. It wasn't like it
wasn't like the big production and all the money that it's more expensive almost than the boys playing sports.
Yeah. If lacrosse had been available to you all, would you have played it, you think?
I honestly knew nothing about it before St. Philip's.
Right. I think Jacoby has asked me that. We've talked about that before. And it's kind of like the boys, I listened to the 2020s podcast. And so just the environment that I grew up in, if it would have been, lacrosse, you want to play that? So it would have been that mindset of, I don't want to play that, because it isn't a traditional sport,
mm-hmm.
In the southern sector. And I grew up growing up in Oak Cliff. It was, I don't know about playing that. So
yeah,
if it was back then, I probably would not have. I can understand I probably wouldn't have done it.
I'd say my first organized sport was like in the third grade. I was in Seattle, Washington, and I played soccer up there. So came back down to East Texas a few years after that. And then I was involved with soccer, came to Texas. I was on the first UIL high school team. But at the same time, I was in Taekwondo. I was in the first American Taekwondo school to open in the state of Texas.
Oh, wow.
And out of that, I was the first black belt in the state of Texas. So,
were you really?
Yeah. A little history there for you.
That's incredible.
If lacrosse had been available, I probably would have did that as well. But it just wasn't around.
Joe, what about you? Would you have made a pretty good lacrosse player?
I would have been a great lacrosse player.
That's the answer I wanted to hear.
Yeah, I know. I grew up here in the Dallas area, and I attended Booker T. Washington High School, which was not an arts academy at that time. It was a sports center. So we had football, basketball, baseball, sports like that, and some of the greatest players that played the sport today, in the past, came out of Booker T. Washington High School. So we had great football players and people like that. So with me weighing a soaking wet 90 pounds, I was not fit for those kinds of sports. So I tended to be more of don't laugh, an intellect. And so I studied a lot, and I was in the music programs, and I was in things like that, because in a city growing up like this with a lot of big boys, little guys like me would have got killed trying to play a lot of those sports. Lacrosse would have been a great option for me and some of my friends, but most of them played football, basketball, and all those kind of things. So if that sport had came along when I was growing up, I think I would have loved to play it. And I'm not sure that all the kids that grew up with me would have played the sport, because it was probably one of those where those other guys played.
Mm-hmm.
Lottie, do you think you'd been a good goalie?
No. Well, I don't know, because I'm like Kevon. I do like to hit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I probably would have been coming out to goal, popping somebody.
Oh, I believe it.
That's where he gets. Stop,
I
Mr.
believe that.
You know, the game, you're supposed to focus on the ball, right? Not just hitting folks.
Woo. Well, you know, sometimes
So-
you gotta do what you gotta do.
I've literally heard Kevon say those exact same words, so we know where he gets it from.
Yeah.
Yes, his
That's-
mother.
That's funny. So all of you being former St. Philip's parents, my question to everyone is, what was it about the sport of lacrosse initially that you gravitated toward?
For us, it wasn't your typical sport. It wasn't just the typical football or basketball, and nothing against those sports.
Mhm.
But one of the reasons we originally came to St. Philip's was because we knew that they had different opportunities. The orchestra and lacrosse was one of them also. When we initially came, at first Marcus did not want to play lacrosse. So the first couple of years we didn't, really worry about it or push him to it.
Mhm.
And then in third grade, he said he wanted to play.
So you all were very intentional about finding those non-traditional opportunities then. Okay.
For Jacoby, he initiated. I don't know. I remember the Winstons, Tanyas, and another parent there. They had a table at the pickup. He was like, "Yeah, second grade pickup," and so he brought the form to the car, and second grade. I'm thinking he doesn't know what he want to do, and I filled it out, and he turned it back in and started playing. So thinking on that, I didn't initiate. I remember they did have a picture. I remember a picture of a lacrosse program in the cafeteria at St. Philip's. I do remember seeing that, but it wasn't a sign up here or anything like that until the Winstons were out at Carpool. And so I actually, the first time he brought it to me, I didn't fill it out. I mean, I just kind of, set it aside on the table. And I would say about a week later, hey, Mom, I need to turn that paper in for lacrosse. I'm like, you don't even know what that is. But, I let him do it. So I filled it out. And man, and he hadn't come from it since. So I'm thinking, I don't know where he got, if he just saw it on TV or he saw the picture, or if he knew. But, he wanted to do it. And it's funny because at the same time, he was playing football for St. Philip's. He had signed up for football. He had done football as well. So, but yeah, initially I kind of just blew it off.
I'm glad he was adamant about playing then.
That's interesting. Well, from James had tried kickball, all kinds of things, some basketball and stuff like that. And since he was a little skinny kid, I know he didn't want to play football. So we decided to put him in lacrosse. He did not volunteer for it. Another one
Sounds
of those
familiar.
things that we took him to. And of all the things he tried, that's the one sport that stuck.
Racine, with Kylan, I assume he was a pretty early football adopter at St. Philip's then?
Yes, he actually started in the third grade, but he didn't start football till fourth grade. I didn't let him get into football that first year. I want to say Kevon told Kylan about lacrosse. And so Kylan ran to me and said, "Mommy, they're doing lacrosse signups. You need to sign me up." So I think, Kevon and Kylan kind of started at St. Philip's at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the other boys in the group were doing, he wanted to do. So I think we got to lacrosse, and then football was understood, but just not right off. But he's always played football. He still loves it just as much as he loves lacrosse.
Yeah. I'm hoping he gets a season this year, because this is the year I want to make a game.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing a lot of training. He's gotten big. He's like not just big. He's big to me.
Yeah.
But too big.
Yeah.
Lottie, kind of the same question, but I'm gonna pick on you because you're the goalie parent. Then Kevon shows up. We kind of throw him in goal pretty early on. What were your thoughts on him playing a sport that, again, like we've mentioned, wasn't very widely known in the area or really in Texas in general? How did you feel about him joining lacrosse, but then also being thrown in as a goalie?
Well, my thing is, like I said, sports, and then with him wanting to try, because he, like Kylan, he played football. So after football, he wasn't going to do basketball, so he needed something else. So lacrosse was the thing for him to do.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Mr. Hearn talked him into it, come out. Yeah, Papa Hearn. And so as Papa Hearn talked him into it, Kevon saw the game. He was like, I want to do it. And then when he saw the previous goalie, it was like, Mama, I want to play goalie. I'm like, okay, well, that's on you. You out coach. So he felt like that would be a better position for him instead of ripping and running up and down the field and blocking the ball. So
yeah. For me, that light bulb turned on of, oh my goodness, this kid is a real goalie. Because a lot of times at that really young age, you just put a kid in net, right? You don't have real high expectations that they're going to, pick it up naturally. It's hard to really train a goalie that young. It's just putting a body in there. But something very early on, Coach Brian came over and said, this kid could really play. He's one of the few, with the exception of Kevin Mundy, he's one of the few really young kids that this kid needs to ride it out as a goalie.
well, thank you. Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Please.
From when we started at St. Philip's until today, what is the most memorable game you have of our boys?
First of all, this is my podcast.
Okay.
Okay. The state champ or the city championship game. I'll never forget that game because we've always known your players were really good early on, well before this game, because this is 8th grade year. But the outcomes of games they've never really had a chance to prove themselves in terms of the outcome of a game, right? So a lot of the teams we've had, go 5-5, or they lose some games here and there. But that was the one game I was like, this group of kids is not only really good at individual, but they're a really good team. They work incredibly well together. And it's paid off because now we're in this championship game against other talented teams. Unfortunately, we lost that game, obviously. But I think that, for me, it sort of put all the pieces together. Yeah, it's a special group. And I think that's why it makes the most sense to have you all as a parent group on this podcast, because you all have been part of Bridge for so long and you've seen the evolution and the maturation of this organization. It only makes sense to kind of get a deep dive into what you guys have seen and experienced.
I mean, I laugh at the fact it's humbling, and that was what makes me proud of the Bridge organization itself, because I vividly remember games where we only had like 6 kids. And I mean, literally, and everyone played the whole game. Everyone, and then we sometimes had to borrow kids from other teams because we didn't have enough, especially if someone didn't show up or were out sick. So I just remember coming from on the sideline, seeing pictures of 7 and 8 kids to now, 20, on 10 on up. So the program itself has grown since we've been there. And I've always said, I remember when the boys played the whole game. It wasn't, they didn't get, the only time they got to receive a break is when it was halftime. So,
Right.
And, you played every position. I don't even remember just, until it started to evolve and add more kids, then you actually start saying, okay, you play attack or you play midi, till it actually came a name. You just played. And so, I mean, we had of course you had the goalie, but just to see it from the time when we came out, in second, I believe it was Mr. Joe and it was the second grade graders is, and I'm like, now we say 200 kids on the team, so in the program. So that to me is makes me proud of the program and how far it's grown since we've been there.
Well, I can remember when they played for Hillcrest, and the boys accepted Hillcrest as much as they accepted them. when you opened up into like the 8th grade, the boys ran like rats going back to the bridge. So that's an indication of how well the program was, because the boys were willing to come back with that organization.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a struggle for us to make that move, to essentially pull ourselves away from these 3 schools to go under this unified banner. I'm just curious what your thoughts on that move or that transition was.
I think it showed that Bridge was becoming its own organization, because I did hear your podcast with the founder, the original founder of it.
Yeah.
And you made a good point about they were at Irma Miguel, they were at St. Philip's, and you kind of only knew, if you were at St. Philip's, you knew the kids from St. Philip's. That was it. If you were at Barack Obama, that's what you knew. But in order to make it an organization, the move was good, because now everybody's in one spot. Parents, we see other parents coming and going, you know. So our kids, they know other kids that are not at what would have been their regular school. So that kind of has made it an organization.
Lottie, I want to take your question and throw it back at you. Just, this group is so special. What are some of y'all's favorite memories as the 6 of y'all?
My favorite was the tournament they played in, where they had the 4 overtimes against Death. That's probably the most favorite experience I had throughout lacrosse, because they finally made it, and they played, like I say, 4 overtimes and lost.
What about James specifically? Did you have a favorite memory with James?
James is a typical artist. It was an opportunity to paint another picture.
Okay, well said. Anyone else a favorite memory of their son?
I would say it was a light bulb moment for me with him, just wanting to sticking with lacrosse. The sixth grade year, when he had so many injuries. I don't think Jacoby may have only played 2 games that season. He had a concussion, then he was out for that, and then something else happened. Then
didn't he broke his arm, right?
Yeah, in one of the games, one of the players fractured his arm.
Yeah, that's right.
And so he didn't get to play that 6th grade season. So, but it's a combination of both of him as a player and then one of the coaches. And so he was really bummed. And again, I hadn't really grasped this lacrosse totally. I mean, we were there. So, but he was hurt. It was really tolling on him. And so I really just understood at that time how much he wanted to play this game, how much he cared to play this game, how much passion he had, because he's gonna get me for real. Because I remember him, he was in tears. And he said, "You just don't understand, Mama. Lacrosse is my life." And I'm thinking, okay. But it was not an over dramatic thing. It was a sincerity that I wasn't expecting from this conversation we were having. So that was a pretty much light bulb for me. But on the coaching end, and at the time, Coach Jason was their coach. And I said, well, okay. So I had talked to Coach. I think I sent him an email. I don't remember. But I know he said, well, bring him to practice. He was still coming to practice in the cast, but he said, I'm going to talk with him. And I just remember him taking Jacob, and they walked the field, while the other kids were playing, and whatever was said. But I'm thinking, okay, so, I saw that connection there with him and Coach Jason, and just kind of getting him out of that funk. Because at 6th grade, he thought that was going to be it. I'm sure he didn't realize. I'm like, so you have the whole, you said 7, 8, 9, So
yeah, no one's recruiting 6th graders to play.
No one's recruiting 6th graders, but it was it was. I was like, so for me, it was say, okay, this is real to seriously, for him. So that's when the trip to Lexington came, and top to bottom stick was made specifically for an attack, so that's when the investment started really for me hitting home to say, okay, this is what we're going to do, because at that time I did see his passion for wanting to do it. And Jacoby has played every sport. I mean, by, his aunt being the athletic director at the Y. So
Right.
he's t-ball, football, basketball, swimming. So, he's never, came away from lacrosse at all. I think he took basketball the furthest. So when the choice came that he had to give up one of them, because with their school, basketball season overlaps lacrosse like totally. So he had to make a decision, because it just wasn't in a way he could do basketball, lacrosse, and school and whatever else was going on. So that was my light bulb moment and my memory, but just the memory of just Coach Jason just taking time out to say, whatever was said, it still is there, I don't know, but his attitude, his outlook, put it like that, was totally different from just that conversation that they had.
One of my favorable memories is the Highland Park game. Oh, they hated us so much. And then they had two dads over there on the sideline by us. They kept pacing. They was nervous. They kept looking at the clock. They wanted to know what was the score. It's like, yeah, you underestimated our kids, but we showed up. Although we didn't win, it was okay.
Yeah.
But they never underestimated Bridge again. And that, to me, was remarkable, because our boys came to play.
I don't know necessarily if I have a particular moment with the Marcus. It's just the growth in the different positions. And finally, he's found, I think, his position. I think he's always been a defensive player, but he's always wanted to be a shooter.
Right.
So he always tried to lean into that. But I was proud when he came to me and he was like, I think I'm going to try out for the long stick. And I said, okay. And I think that he really has owned that position. He finally found his footing and he's owning that position.
It's been tough with him because he's such a versatile athlete, and you can put him anywhere and he'll find success. But that's good to know. It's good that he's kind of found a home and a comfort in there.
I remember the most distinctive thing everybody probably knew about Marcus was he was good for 3 penalties a game. It was just always.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch, but it was just trying to, as a dad, trying to, talk him through it and help him to calm it down and be more focused, and just watching him gradually go from 3 to 1, and then from, to just focusing more on the ball than the brawl.
Yeah.
That was fun. But I do remember when G decided he was going to stop playing football and he was just going to focus on lacrosse. At the time, Marcus was probably playing on Pop Warner, and he was playing for his middle school football. And all the boys had played football all along at the same time they were doing lacrosse. But it was that decision that G made. It kind of like within a few weeks, Marcus made the same decision. And he was like, I'm going to focus on lacrosse as well.
So you all represent a class that's incredibly talented. Kim, you kind of mentioned that light bulb moment. When did you realize that, oh, my son is really good at this sport?
That 8th grade tournament I looked at them totally different. I mean, I knew they had it in them, but to see them put that much effort into it and not give up, I think for me, that was actually the moment where I said, this could really be something.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah, I agree. That 8th grade tournament was just iconic. I think that was a real eye opener for all of us as parents too. They played a lot of games that day, and just to keep fighting like that to the end, I mean, we couldn't do anything but, support them as best we could. And it was so phenomenal because even like parents from other teams that were done for the day, they were just stopping and like, oh my God, this game is incredible. They got so much kudos afterwards from the team that they were beaten by, but a lot of parents too from other teams.
I had an incident that most of you may not know about, but a parent from one of the teams we played came up to me and James and said that that boy is really good back there with that stick, and he wrote James a check for $100 to go buy whatever equipment he needed.
Oh,
There you go.
Yeah.
Lottie, what about you? Is there a specific moment where you're like, oh, my boy here can play?
well, I think for me it was sixth grade. I guess watching the previous goalie and then Kevon and then talking to Mr. Hearn and then Mr. Hearn constantly telling Kevon, this is what you need to do. And to watch Kevon take Mr. Hearn advice and then use that on the field, I knew right then that, okay, this is his sport. He loved it and what he'll be good at. So I always go back to Papa Hearn.
Absolutely.
I have to tell you this story, David, before we go.
No, go.
Kevon, like his mama, is rowdy. So I talked to him. I had read about lacrosse and I read some statistics and stuff like that. And I pulled him off to the side and told him, because, he was kind of rowdy like his mother. Pulled him off to the side and said, I've read some statistics about NCAA players and how many balls they miss and stuff like that. And a good game is that if you stop 60% of the balls that come at you, I say you had a great game. And from then on, he started actually doing some statistics in his head about how many balls. He was worried about whether he was being really good or not good.
Yeah.
I was trying to convince him that you are good, and this is what you can do. You'll be just as good as the boys in college.
Mm-hmm.
With this high school group, what are some things you guys are looking forward to from your boys as seniors?
Leaving the house. going to college.
Goodness gracious.
Like everybody.
Well, I hope we get back to playing games. I know they want to play.
Yeah.
They want to get out there and play. And, what's great about this group is that they feed off of each other. When G is on fire shooting, they get so hyped up on the defense end. They've always done a good job of supporting each other. They've helped each other grow as individuals and as teammates. I'm excited to see them ride this out their senior year all the way. I think that's what they want to do. So
I just can't believe they're seniors.
Yeah, I know. Think back to the early years.
Yeah. Kim, what about you? What are you looking forward to in G's last year?
I go back and forth. I think at the end of the day, I just want him to really follow his passion, whatever that is. Don't take it too serious, but be serious enough, to do what you need to do. So I think I'm thinking he's finding that balance. I think there's a lot to look. You're gonna have that awkward stage, 17, 18, 19, 20. So just looking forward to him to find that balance, because you have so much coming at you. Just to enjoy the ride. Enjoy the process, and just keep your nose clean and stay out of trouble, and just, enjoy life. I think that's kind of where my head is for him, because it goes back and forth. It's, so much with school, and then you want to do this with lacrosse, so you kind of just lose the joy. So I really don't want him to lose the joy and just in it. So if that's what, he's going for, which 9 chances out of 10 he is going for it. Just, make sure that you, cross your T's, dot your I's where you need to, and then smell the roses where you need to. So I'm looking forward to him just stepping out on his own and, making mistakes where he's able to make them and learn the lessons. And it's kind of, scary, but it's life. I'm like, golly, we getting ready. So
yeah. Joe, what about you? What are you looking forward to in this last season?
number one to finished high school, and he's had a few, like someone in the local areas, been trying to encourage him to come and play lacrosse here in the Dallas area. I don't know if that's where his head is. He is a great artist, you
Hmm.
know, and if he really understands how to pursue that, that's what I'd like for him. That's what I would like for him to do. So I would, if he wants to play lacrosse, that's great. But his passion is art. I like for him to become the best artist he can be.
Yeah, absolutely. Tamiri and Michael, I've got a question. This is kind of for you specifically. With Marcus being on a leadership board, what are some things he's learned or maybe you've seen from him as a coach, which is something different than a lot of other high school kids get an opportunity to do?
I work out with him almost every day, and because he coached the younger kids, I'm now seeing him come up with. He's doing his own drills. He's doing, he's consistently getting better, and he's sprinting, and we're running up hills. He's doing wall ball. He's doing all these things. He's watching videos, and he's trying all these different things, and making me pass and catch and do all this other stuff with him. But I think I'm looking forward to seeing probably the most growth we've seen from one season to the next. I
Yeah.
think we're going to see that coming up next year.
I think that I've seen him out there with the boys, and it's a whole different. It's different for me to see him coaching younger kids or just interacting with younger kids, and it has given him, I think, a level of maturity and able to be able to just take what he knows and give it to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first year, I thought, he's pretty good at that. And then the second year, I could see that he had grown some more to where being in that leadership role, he took it seriously. And,
Yeah.
he played around with them a little bit, but he kept the boundaries of coaching, student or whatever. And I think he made them feel comfortable. So it was a different side for me to see him in that role. And I think he did rise to the occasion. I was a little nervous at first, but
All of your boys have matured in a way that, you could have told Coach Jason and myself 5 years ago that, this is where they'd be, and we might have a little trouble believing it sometimes. I've got one more kind of prompt. You guys have been a part of this organization for so long. So much of what I think about parent engagement comes from what you guys have done with this organization. What's something you guys would share with an incoming and a new Bridge parent?
Definitely network with, other parents. I think we were lucky because our kids all kind of went to the same schools, kind of starting out. So, when we needed to get together and make sure they all had snacks and water and things like that, it just never was hard because, if Kim wasn't there, I took it, G's covered. If, Tamira wasn't there, Marcus is covered. We all covered, the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say to definitely network with other parents and, do what needs to be done for the boys. They need that support.
I think if the boys see the parents, if the team see that the parents are interacting, that may bring the team closer together. Mm-hmm. So it is important that the parents come together as a group and do things and talk to the boys, and don't just, some parents will come and they're there and they talk to their kid or whatever, but, encourage the other kids on the field just as well. Just as parents, you be there for the whole team, not just necessarily your student athlete.
Yeah, I would piggyback off both Tamiri and Ray. You just be involved. I think as parents, your kids, what really wants to be. I think that's the first thing, if they really want to be. So if they're engaged, and you try to be engaged as well, if possible, because sometimes it's not possible. But it's just talk to other parents, meet other parents, and kind of form a, a network of, okay, if you're not going to be here, then okay, I could make sure your child or player has or meet what their need is for, as rides and snacks. But it's just networking, getting out and being open to meeting other parents and being more engaged with not just your child or other kids as well, making sure that everyone's taken care of, even if you can or can't be there.
Right. And for me, I think that we need to recruit more parents, because you're looking at all your sport
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
And once 2021 is gone, who's going to step up next?
Yeah.
Say, I needed somebody to keep scores, keep stats. So that's the thing that I feel like, if they want to come during during our boys' senior year, we will be more than delighted to teach them how to do everything. So that way, you don't have to worry about it, and parents can step up.
That is a high priority for myself. Is this 2021 class is players and parents alike is such a special class that recruiting and sort of keeping the pool full is going to be tough. There are 35 juniors, so the 2021 class on both guys and girls side is 35 kids, which is basically half of our high school program is graduating next year. So yeah, we're going to need to really recruit, like you said, and make sure we have parents who are going to be engaged well after you all are gone, or your boys are gone and graduated.
Well, I'll still come out.
I know, but I can't. I'm not going to expect you to run the clock, though.
Well, I'll come out. I'm always Bridge for life.
I know, and I love that.
Absolutely.
No, I'm just saying, they
Kim.
may surprise you. They may actually, be in the process of doing it. No, you never know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And we definitely have parents who ask questions and want to get involved. Joe, what about you? Any advice for a brand new incoming Bridge parent?
Yes, adopt every kid on the team and put aside all the differences we may have so that we can become the bridge of the future.
That was beautiful. That was very well put, Joe. Does anyone want to add anything? Throw something else out there? Other than that, again, I don't want to take up your whole evening.
Well, thank you, David. Bridge is a great organization. And like Kim said, just to see the growth over the years, it's been phenomenal. Because I think back to early on when, they play games and they literally played the whole game. They just be exhausted afterwards. And now to have so many kids on all these teams, you even have more teams now.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see, from then to now is amazing. Bridge, y'all have done a phenomenal job. And I think just for us as parents, we wanted to always support not only our kids, but also Bridge, because y'all have given so much to our kids. So I pray that continues after, they leave. Definitely know we will always support the organization no matter what.
I appreciate that.
Right. And just even with the coaches, because, like I said before, we've been in every realm of it, it's just, and I'm a big proponent of doing unto others as you, and it's just, I cannot say enough about the coaches, and that's not even just with the game itself, but just how much they care about the kids. It's genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And just taking time out, to just learn the kids and to joke around with them, but at the same time, pull them aside and, make corrections and they respond to it in a way that's just, so I'm grateful and thankful just for the coaches from the top to the bottom. I'm sure all of us, since we've been in youth sports for a while, have coach stories, but it's just the quality of coaches that Bridge has brought to the table too, that I appreciate. And so I hope that continues forward, which I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
But that has made a difference. And I think that also will go a long way with the program as well.
One last thing, David. when I started working with the kids in the second grade, I used to wear my belt around my neck. I can put it back on my pants.
I don't know if that's gonna make my edit, Joe. I appreciate you all jumping on, the 6 of you all jumping onto this podcast. It's been a lot of fun, and again, you guys are such a special group to this organization, to myself. I love your boys. I'm looking forward to being on the field with them and you all very, very soon. Hopefully, hopefully we're coming up with a timeline sooner than later. But yeah, thank you all for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.